The Devil in Me from Dark Pictures Anthology is a third-person horror linear game that dives into the horrid history of H.H. Holmes. With every Dark Pictures game, there is always an aspect of real life that is incorporated into the games, whether it's in the stories or the choices that are made. The Devil in Me takes a different approach to how the Dark Pictures games normally play out. The choices are harder, and there's a new inventory mechanic, and the story is way more immersive. What's going on, you guys? It's your Huggable Hipster here, and welcome back to the reviews. Today, we're going to be diving into The Devil in Me from Dark Pictures Anthology. As with every Dark Pictures game, your choices are weighed extraordinarily heavily with certain things that you attempt to do, but this one takes a different, more realistic approach to it. We're going to get into that in a bit, but I feel as if we have to just go over the fact that H.H. Holmes was the main story point for this Dark Pictures game. I feel like that is the more fascinating thing, because normally we have a little bit more realism with these kinds of games, whether it be in the choices or the story that's picked out. But I never would have suspected H.H. Holmes to be the victim of choice for these games. I mean, it's no wonder that for me personally, this is the best installment of Dark Pictures Anthologies, because the history and just absolute weirdness behind H.H. Holmes, it just always fascinated me. So as you guys saw in the playthrough that I did, as soon as I found out it was H.H. Holmes, I was like, wait, giddy excitement installing in my brain. The choices in this installment are weighed extraordinarily heavily, and there's just no seemingly right choice. I feel like you're always going to be second guessing yourself. Even when I got to like part of when the tail end game was, I was like, what do I choose? What exactly do I go off of? I feel like they're trying to make it more into real life than anything, because Dark Pictures Anthologies has a way of trying to make you choose what you would do in that scenario. The Devil in Me really brought real life-like scenarios into play, and it's because of that I feel like those choices were so difficult, because it makes the player really choose carefully how they're going to create a future for the character that they basically play as. So let's go into probably what is going to be my favorite part of this review, the psychology of a killer, H.H. Holmes. So The Devil in Me, unlike a lot of Dark Pictures games, utilizes the history of America's first serial killer. I put first serial killer in the article, but we all know that it's probably, he's probably not the first serial killer. Let's be honest here. H.H. Holmes creates a murky fog for the player to sift through and go about and really get lost in. And the history of Holmes is undoubtedly one of the more mysterious and gruesome, I think, in America's history. Yes, we all know Jeffrey Dahmer exists. We all know John Wayne Gacy exists, but Holmes, I feel like there's a special kind of place in hell for that dude. And it's so strange. Like, have you guys watched the documentaries on H.H. Holmes? I watched a bunch of them in preparation for this review, and big old yikes. This history, which, it is by far one of the more gruesome in American history, having this as the focal point creates a lot of playroom, so to speak, whenever you are utilizing the history of Holmes to its fullest potential in a game like this. Seeing a modern day Holmes creating traps for the characters you play as and being deceptively weaving his way around like a spider, I feel like it is so incredibly maniacal, and just with a flip of a switch, he just gets out of every single situation that he could have gotten caught in. He should have gotten caught in, but didn't. So let's go more into what Holmes's mentality might have been, or what the mentality of a serial killer is in general. It's something that is truly demented. It's also something kind of fragile too, because when you think about it, the psychology surrounding that of a killer is even more intriguing and more mysterious, because we don't know what makes a killer. That pure and simple, we don't know what makes a killer. That's why for me it's so fascinating, because when you see a killer, you're not just seeing a killer, you're seeing the product of what their surroundings are. You're seeing the product of what they grew up as, basically, in their childhood. So that's why a killer is more than a killer. They are a human being, but they are the product of what created them to become that killer, that person, that creation. When it gets closer to the end of the game, the player is surrounded by many hanging bodies, which I'm so happy I have the walkthrough to reference, because not walkthrough, playthrough, I always get those two words mixed up. You are surrounded by many hanging bodies, which in this instance I referenced them in the playthrough that I did as trophies, because when we go into that room and we see all of these different hanging bodies, they represent the trophies that our Wish version of Holmes has collected. A killer having a trophy is like an achievement unlocked for a player. You can never have too many of them, and each one has its own special uniqueness, I want to say, that the killer specifically looks for in a trophy that they want to collect, or in something that they want to be able to have with them forever. Killers are sometimes incredibly stupid. They are incredibly stupid. And sometimes, much like Holmes, and surprisingly our Wish version of Holmes here, he is incredibly smart, incredibly intelligent. They have a method to their madness. They have a way of doing things that no person would ever really think about doing. Holmes is incredibly intelligent, especially the guy who's pretending to be like Holmes. He's emotionally persuasive, manipulative to a point of where they make people feel safe in order to get what they want, much like what Jeffrey Dahmer used to do, much like what a lot of killers do, because they are narcissistic at their core, and they're also sociopaths. So sociopaths have to imitate different social cues and different ways that normal people go about living their lives. So once they know how to act in order to get what they want, it's going to be a lot easier for them to actually get said thing that they want. This is Dark Pictures Anthology's best game yet. The intense atmosphere, the slow burn story that is actually doing a good job at being a slow burn instead of simply taking its time with things just to drag the player on and on. When I say this game brought their all to the table and then some, it truly did. The choices are divisive and create an inner divide that the player must fight through in order to do what they think is right/realistic to them. The controls were just terrible though. I think that's the only bad thing I have to say about this game, like they are in all Dark Pictures games, let's be real. They were just slow and they chugged along. Let's get the controls some coffee, please. They are in need of a boost and then some. The inventory slots on the D-pad were a welcome addition to the party. I feel like incorporating that and actually giving characters their own items like flashlights and being able to store tools and weapons was also another happily welcome addition. This game, as a final part of the first season of Dark Pictures Anthology, was an emotional roller coaster to go through, creating immersion, tension, and truly good jump scares that will have the player either crying, laughing, or both. You guys, that was it for my review of Dark Pictures Anthologies. I'm really happy I was able to do a review of this one and play through it on the channel. Like I said before, when I started it, I never played through a Dark Pictures game on the channel, so I was really happy that I could actually do one this time. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. You guys, if you all like my face and what I do, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell down below. I make videos every day here on YouTube. I also post consistently to Patreon if you guys want to sign up there to support the content and what I do. Let me find your worth in the waking world, your hunter. Stay casually nerdy, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye, you guys.